Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen. We're here with comic Adam Christopher. Adam Christopher, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing really well, Koppen. So well, in fact, I'm using the correct word. I usually say I'm doing really good, and right now I can say I'm doing well.
I love it, dude. From the guy who brought us Way Too Zesty TV, Adam Christopher in the flesh.
Yes, in the virtual flesh, at least.
And so really all people need to know, I don't know that you have your own Twitter account, but I follow you on Way Too Zesty TV on Twitter. Is that, do you also have a Twitter account or no?
Yeah, I do. It's just way too zesty.
Oh, there's two of them.
Yeah. So TV is like the official one, Way Too Zesty TV, and then Way Too Zesty was like, because that was like a name that I went by because I sound really dry when I talk, and I was like, oh, it'd be funny if I just called myself that, like I just said I'm way too zesty, and then like Charlie Dawson and I got started working on like Welcome to the Show, which is like the first program on Way Too Zesty, and then from there it was like, oh, hey, this is a fun set of words. This could be more than just like a dumb descriptor of like me.
Dude, and I guess I also follow you on Way Too Zesty. I was probably confused as to which to follow, so I followed both. But
yeah, understandable. Yeah.
Yeah, the other important thing is that these things will take you to Instagram, and your handle on Instagram is actually waytoozesty.tv, and so that's where it's just a repository of hilarious shit. And I was looking at it today. Yeah, and I'm tired and I'm hungover, and when I'm watching Way Too Zesty clips, it just makes me want to puke or faint. Like, meaning it's some trippy ass shit that actually happened before. I was working at a music store, and I was like, I'm either going to puke or faint, and it turns out I fainted. And of course, a customer had to come awake me. But like, that's the same feeling I have. Like, it's, dude, some fucking trippy shit.
Oh, that's great, man. That's good. Yeah, like we suggest you sit down when you watch it for sure.
Because I mean, you have things like, I mean, I guess I haven't seen all the content because some of it's on IGTV, so it's slightly longer. But even if firing up like all the recent clips that I could take down, like, I mean, they're just all over the place. You have Couch's Comedy Club, which I'll let you explain, but also Getting Tired with Spirit Animals is one of the funniest fucking things. Like, it's just it's just a trippy video of like a monkey wanting to fall asleep and shit. But I think it is promoting some really late Instagram live stuff. Like, you go on at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and one of those is Couch's Comedy Club and one of those is Getting Tired with Spirit Animals.
Yeah. So Couch's Comedy Club is it's a buddy of mine, Nick Crespo, and he created this online like comedy club where people can do stand up, which is like great, especially during the pandemic. And I was such a fan of his idea, and he was like one of the first to do it too. I was such a big fan of the idea that I created this promo for him, and I just thought it'd be funny to like have the couch be the thing instead of like the black obelisk in 2001.
Yeah.
And it fit perfect. It was an experiment. That's why I didn't say anything to him, because it was an experiment in that. And then I pitched the idea to like Tom Achilles and Charlie Dawson, and then like Mia Faith Hammond. They're all like, "Oh, that's really funny." And then I started working on it, and it worked out perfectly. And yeah, and then I just sent it to him. He loved it. He used it, and then I was like, "Oh, that's great." So yeah, Couches is like.
Was that going on pre-corona? I mean, you said it was one of the first things to do it. Like, was he doing these online comedy?
It was like on like when lockdown happened. It was like one of the things right after lockdown, or like around that time.
And
when
so
venues started closing.
Everybody good is on there. So you and Charlie Dawson and Tom Achilles and Mia Faith Hammond, like, are all you guys doing sets on Couch's Comedy Club?
Yeah, we all do sets there.
And why is this so fucking late? Is it just because you guys are party people?
Oh yeah, well it's like on Couches. Well, I am a night owl. Like I keep very late hours. So like to answer that question, yeah. I when I get an idea, I like working on it until I can't think anymore, and then I go to sleep.
And so is Getting Tired with Spirit Animals an additional show that's before or after Couch's Comedy Club?
Yeah, that was something that we did by accident. It was like we did a set. Tom Achilles and I did a set each on couches, and it was like on a Zoom mic, and it was a really annoying session because everyone was just treating it like a hangout session. So for that Zoom show, because it's on Instagram, but it was on a Zoom one night because Instagram was like overloaded or just wasn't working. And so after that, we were both frustrated, and Tom was like, "You want to go and chat?" I was like, "Do you want to go and chat?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." I was thinking to chat with him privately, but then he was like, "Let's go. I'll meet you on IG Live." I was like, "Okay." And then we were talking on IG Live, and then there's a few people that joined us for a bit, and then we put on this like face filter that said the spirit animals, but it didn't give it didn't rotate to any animal. It just stayed there, and I was like, "Oh," and then the guy had to leave, and we're like, "Oh, you're getting tired with." We're your spirit animals, and you're getting tired of us. And then I was like, "Yeah, it's a great name for a show. What is it going to be about? I don't know. Let's just do it."
So is that now going to be kind of a subset of people who might also be doing the Couches Comedy Club? Like, it's almost like an after party. You're going to invite certain comics to continue the party.
Yeah, it's almost like an after party, but we basically just talk and do bits like to each other. It's like either Tom, Charlie, me, Charlie, or like it's like there's only two spaces on the IG Live, and we're all separated. So we figure out ways to like share the time. But yeah, we all just do bits or like. And lately, what's been happening is really cool. Is like some of our fans on Way Too Zesty have been joining, and some of these people are like from like Australia, New Zealand. They're like asking us like what's their influence. They're like, it's becoming like this real talk kind of scenario. I'm like, oh wow, these people just want to actually have a conversation. And like, so we've been giving like I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but like we've been given a device of like, just keep creating, like you never know what you'll get if you just create something. And like we were just promoting that idea of like, it's just get it out of your system.
Yeah. So at what point, like this, like what's some of the stuff, like how does it even get in your system? Like even the Michael Jackson video?
Oh yeah, that's the trailer, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes I like skimming through things, and I'll like read pop culture stuff, and then I'll just see a thing, and like the Michael Jackson thing, the video that's coming out like in a couple weeks or so is like it's like 6 minutes, but like I was watching this video, and it's like it's no one talks about this Michael Jackson video, and it has the record for the longest music video ever and the most expensive. It's like 44 minutes. It took like $15 million to make, all out of like Michael Jackson's budget, which is or pocket, and that's just insane. So it's a passion project, and then I watch this thing, and the music is, for me, I think the music is terrible, and it feels really meta because it's like this town trying to kick out this weird guy living in this big house by himself, and then he just like has this sequence of dances, and I'm like, okay. And then so basically what I do is like with some of those ideas, like the video edits, is like I just take out things that I find that are like really funny, and then try to like see if I can exaggerate them even more, just to like draw them out.
Yeah, with your edit, it sounds like when I had Charlie Dawson was pretty in talking about why your collaboration works, he really talked up the fact that, how the fuck is Adam Christopher make an edit funny? But it sounds like like some of your talent is not only being funny, but spotting the funny such that some of it can come from the edit itself.
Yes, yeah. It's really fun. Like with our whole style too, it's kind of like we just record what we're doing for about an hour or so, and then from there it's like you kind of construct a narrative of like what sticks out, what patterns exist in what we recorded, and then you try to like find if that makes any sense. It's like you have an hour long of crazy, and then you try to make as much sense within that crazy, and it's still just out there, but it's like fun to try to like construct a really rough idea of like what could be funny.
It's so funny to hear you say making sense out of that, because it's still nonsense. So what you mean is making sense comically, to the point where the steak farmer video has you guys eating grapes, and that was fucking hilarious. Like that's one of those that made me want to puke or fan, man.
Yeah, understandable. And then it was crazy. We shot that a while ago, and then like I just saw on the news like this meat crisis happening. I'm like, oh my god, we did this like scene. It was so stupid. And then I accidentally played it slower because I was looking
Yeah.
for a shot. And then I was like, this is actually funny. If you just slowed this whole scene down, because it's like a 10-second scene, and then we're all busting up laughing. But if you slow it down, it has this sort of effect where it's like either we're drugged up or like, and then it's like we're eating grapes, and then what is a steak farmer? It's something that like just came up, and then it really draws it out even more. If you slow it down, it's like, oh, these people, like, what are they on? Like,
Yeah. And so is that why I'm getting the feeling of puking or fainting? Because certain of these things are slowed down?
yeah, no, well, the timing with some of the things, yeah, it's a little bit warped. There's
Okay.
definitely there's something funny to us about things getting warped.
Yeah. And then the language too, like, I mean, I saw it on the cowboy video back in the day, which I talked about with Charlie Dawson. But the other one, I think it was on, I forgot which one it was. It might have been Way Too Zesty Preview, where Charlie Dawson comes up to you and Tom, and he's talking about needing to talk to you guys about something weird. And the funny
Yeah.
thing is, like the cowboy video, he presented it in a couple, the same thing in a couple slightly
Yeah.
different ways. And so, like the word, is the obsession with I don't know, wordplay or whatever.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
is that
absolutely.
both you and Charlie, or is that just Charlie?
Oh no, that's all of us.
Okay.
That's like that's if you say something unclear and then it becomes something that you can warp into like purposely mishearing it. That's like for me that's like a really funny point.
It's
And
just a
like
way of,
I realized that I honestly in that video I misheard Charlie saying like clear up any frog, and I was like, oh, clear Benny Frog, and then
that's my
I
dad's name.
realized it was a miss here, but I like went over that, and then Tom riffed with that, and then you can see the frustration on Charlie's face, which then like made it. He was like in his character, he was frustrated, but after that scene, like we just busted up laughing because it just worked out perfect.
And so it sounds like I mean, you're seeming to warp things with speed, but also the repetition and slightly different phrasings of the same fucking thing. But I
Yeah.
saw that the Mia Faith Hammond video where her and Charlie Dawson were sharing the handgun, which was fucking hilarious. Like, is
Oh
is
my
any of
god.
that, yeah, kind of improv? I mean, because that's an additional way to warp things. If it's like Garth and Kat on SNL, where they're kind of making up shit as they go, and you can see it to the
Yeah.
point where it's funny because you finally see the mind meld. You can see them fumbling all over each other to find what
Yes.
they have
Yes.
in
Yes.
common. Yeah, and then so
Oh,
it's almost a
I love.
warped improv.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, very much so. I love the way you phrase that. Yeah. Yeah. Warped improv is definitely, I think, our possible angle on that is like,
Yeah.
yeah, we like come up with so many sketch ideas, and then we'll write them down sometimes, and then we'll sometimes flush out a full sketch. But then like when we were filming, it's like it's a completely different feel. When once you start filming something, it's like
Yeah.
if you just stick to the script, then you kind of choke the experience of what's happening,
Yeah.
and then it becomes this very square sort of like, okay, you said your line, and I'm not like putting that process down either, but there's something fun about like, okay, we had a jumping off point of what we thought was funny, but now something funnier is happening, let's play with that. And I think that's always like a really fun thing. And then like props to Mia Faith Hammond, she killed it in that one. Like the thing with Welcome to the Show too, it's like we had some loose ideas of what to do, but when she got on the show, it was so funny because she just basically controlled that whole thing. And from what she did, like Charlie played it perfectly too.
Yeah, they
But
both they
him,
both they both kind of came. Yeah, I mean, it was so fucking funny what she did, but
yeah.
Charlie immediately went there with her, and
Oh
so that
man,
scene was so fucking memorable. And I think that she, it's good that it's so cool you guys are working with her because I mean that's her. If you watch Sniff That Mom, I mean that's her fucking
oh, Sniff
sensibility.
That Mom is insane.
I
I
know. Oh,
equally laughed and like cringed at the same time. It was perfect. I thought she met that balance perfectly.
and the fact that the mother was reading those fucking lines and her edit brought
Oh,
it,
she did so good.
yeah, I mean, it was a longer episode, and so the fact that she zeroed in on the funny stuff, some of the funny stuff for the clip I was so happy to see it. But it's like she's the
Yeah,
perfect person to kind of guest star in Way Too Zesty videos because she has that, warped improv thing going, I would think.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah,
It's
for sure. No, she definitely gets it.
And I think that, I mean, the Twitter account, the Way Too Zesty TV thing is kind of consistent with the warped sensibility. I mean, sometimes by being like, just kind of random things to, talk about being way too zesty. I mean, sometimes you just hit them. Like, I think the first one that I saw that I was in love with was French Montana is way too zesty.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's not, and then sometimes you see maybe you guys are hashtag surfing, which is a little bit less, a
Oh
little
no,
bit
that's the
less
thing.
fun for
So
us.
the concept with the Twitter thing is it's basically it's like a tweet bot
Yeah.
that Way Too Zesty headquarters designed, and it basically just like copies and pastes like anything that's trending,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it compounds like trending like words to form a sentence, and then it's like the ending of every sentence is Way Too Zesty.
But I mean, some of the even funnier ones though seems like it's not, surfing hashtags, meaning like there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff on here, spell check is way too zesty. I mean, that's funny because there's no way in hell that spell check was trending. And so like
Yeah.
it's
Right.
really
Right.
like that's one of the things that make it funny. And I think it's a perfect accompaniment to the Way Too Zesty TV. And I guess I mean, I mean, at this point, you're you guys' batting average, you and Charlie and, guest starring Mia, like your batting average is pretty fucking high as far as, product that I've consumed that manages to be memorably funny, unique, excellent. Like,
Oh, thank you, man.
yeah, what, I mean, I mean, like, how can you make sure that the Way Too Zesty movie of the future, captures that zestiness? Like, I mean, as you guys get bigger and bigger, I mean, what's the thing that you always keep returning to? Is it the warped sensibility, or is it just, I mean, if it makes you guys laugh, that's enough?
Yeah, well, it's like it's basically that, but it's easy to say. It's like it's whatever makes us laugh, but it's really like if you go deeper in that, it's really like our dynamic.
Okay.
I think that is truly like we try to like check ourselves. Like sometimes like we'll come up with ideas, or I'll come up with a sketch idea. I'm like, nah, I don't feel like it's like I feel like it's pandering in some way.
Right.
But if it's like something that's happening within our dynamic, that it, like the last project that we put up was a chat with Tom and Charlie, and that was such a great idea. Like and Tom Achilles and Charlie Dawson like pitched this idea of like, what if like they both independently go to their own like nearby woods and just recorded a conversation with themselves. And so they didn't talk about the thing beforehand except for pitching the idea. They didn't talk about what they're going to discuss.
Right.
And they both independently like recorded themselves talking. And then I edited it together to make it seem like they were talking to them, like to each other, like in one conversation. And I was like, that's so fun. So like, if stuff like that is happening, like when ideas like that come about, I'm like, that is, I think, the thing that will just keep Way Too Zesty happening. It's because it's all like an experiment on our dynamics. And there's something where all our styles are so different, but there is a meeting point, at least in our ideation of absurdity that we find funny, that we keep meeting at. And we're very supportive of whatever we're doing. And I think that also is like what keeps that going. So I feel like whatever may happen in the future with Way Too Zesty, it's like if we just stick to that and like capitalize on the fact that we are already just great friends and we get our sense of humor, and like there's 8 billion people on this planet, there's going to be a few people that will get our sense of humor, and like so that's the kind of the approach to that.
Yeah, and I think and the dynamic thing is, of course, is the only risk there is. If you're a risk management officer and you're saying the success of this thing relies on their dynamic, you better be damn sure that that dynamic is preserved intact throughout. And I guess, Charlie Dawson talked about there being a moment where you guys were working together so much that you guys kind of had to take some time apart to make sure that you remembered what you love in that dynamic so that you'd preserve that dynamic going forward.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh, that's bound to happen.
Yeah.
Because like I think anything that you start doing and then that you love doing, there's a point where you get into obsession. And once you start operating under the mode of like obsession over it, like then you start like then all the cool things that you were doing it for starts like dissipating, and then it becomes this like whole like kind of like delusional experience of like this. You're now just following an idea rather than just like being with the person that you're with, or like enjoying or like seeing what you enjoyed with that person.
Yeah, so you have to keep the joy alive, and part of that is making sure you guys aren't crushing it with hard work. And so the final
Yeah, right,
question
right.
I,
No, exactly.
and the
But
final
also
question
we're
I,
human beings and we have emotions and like
yeah,
there's the ups and downs and stuff, and it's like we all give each other that room for that, and that's also like what maintains the dynamic.
the way too zesty dynamic. And the only thing that a true fan is going to want to see, and here's my final question, is Charlie Dawson talked about the fact that, I was like, how did you guys meet? You guys sound like the yin and yang. And he goes, well, I kept, whenever I was tripping on whatever, like I saw him and then I tripped on whatever and then I saw him again. And it's just like, what I would love to see is a way too zesty, clip or short where it's, when Adam Christopher met Charlie Dawson. And just because it could be warped and trippy and it's the truth, if that's kind of how it happened, I don't know if it is, but, if that's how it happened, I would enjoy seeing a clip like that.
Hey, man, I will give you writer credit on that, and that'd be actually I like I really like that idea. That'd be a really fun like if we ever get to a point where people are curious about our origin story, and then
Yeah.
actually just film an origin story. I think that would be really lovely, and then I would I would definitely credit you for that,
Dude, you
co-writer.
don't have to, but let me tell you, that would be the highlight of my career, man. If I was if I was on a video, my name is on a video with you, the comic group of the future, that would be way too zesty.
Yo, thank you so much, Koppen. That's very sweet of you. I really appreciate that. And
Dude, yeah,
man,
I love talking to all you guys, and hopefully I'll have, I think, Tom Achilles in the future. He might be doing in person in the fall, so I'm looking forward to just take,
oh yeah,
anybody who's ever in the way too zesty crew, man. I can't wait to talk to him.
oh yeah, yeah. Tom Achilles, man, he's a legend for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Adam Christopher, and you're in Florida right now?
Yes, currently in Florida.
Okay, well, I'll see you when you're back in New York. Thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Common.